Hey guys, the CCC is bringing you a totally new kind of cocktail today. We are looking forward to this because I gotta tell you something. This is a trend that I've read about, but I haven't tried. We're totally pivoting 180 and going from the sweet to the savory and bringing in olive oil.
That wasn't a typo.
It was not a typo. We are actually bringing in olive oil. So before anybody thinks they're doing salad dressing, we thought this would be fun. We're always looking for ingredients to share with you guys that we think everybody has on hand or is able to get, relatively easily. And like, for example, for CCC to go, for the Houston people who are going to be able to appreciate that, we are able to use some ingredients that you guys don't have or that are maybe too tedious for you to make or infuse or whatever. And we can get a little experimental there and offer some exciting things. But for the ones that we want you guys to make along with us, we want it to be things that you guys have on hand, and everyone's got olive oil.
And let's be honest, Rice. I mean, probably not the first time you brought salad dressing to your bar, right? You worked some mezcal into a balsamic vinaigrette.
Why have I never put balsamic and mezcal together?
You're welcome.
Game changer. I love it. It's not as out there as you think. It's actually been in the cocktail world for a little bit. I remember reading about it once on an airplane a couple years ago. But I know you're expecting me to say what I'm going to say, but if you're using egg and olive oil, then that mouthfeel is just exploding with awesomeness.
You're also getting close to the ingredients for mayonnaise, which is not on the top of my list of things I eat, but I do love olive oil. But I believe you and I also share something in common, that we both like olive oil, but we don't eat olives. Is this correct?
Correct.
I take olive oil over butter and other kind of oil, but I do not like olives.
Well, good thing we don't have olives out.
But one of these days, I think I want to like one. I'll try one like once every year and a half or so. And
that's how I feel about mushrooms. One of these days I'll like mushrooms. I'm getting better.
Mushrooms are not nearly as polarized. I mean, olives are pretty strong. Mushrooms are kind of meh.
I guess. I don't know. It was a 2020 resolution of mine to like mushrooms, but 2020 went all sorts of wonky. So I figure whatever happens or doesn't happen in 2020,
Yeah, I think 2020, I think we get a mulligan for this year.
So this drink, you'll see out, I always put out the ingredients for you guys here. We've got Chartreuse out. And we're thinking this is a new bottle for you guys, and all of you may not have it. But I'm also wondering, Jason, what is your take on subbing that out for something that more people potentially do have? Is there any? Essentially, we're mixing gin, egg white, lemon, simple, and although we're bringing in flavors like olive oil and basil, I think it'll be delicious with the Chartreuse. And if you have it, you should do it. But if you don't, what else could we sub in there, do you think?
I mean, Chartreuse is pretty unique. I mean, it's one of those things, if you go to a liquor store, even they have yellow and green, yellow being lower proof, a little sweeter. And this one, by the way, this one's not cheap. This is what, 54, 55 bucks? But unlike other liqueurs where there's like 5 different types of elderflower now, there's 5 different types of this or that and triple sec, there's really nothing else like Chartreuse. I mean, maybe we work in.
There's definitely nothing that could substitute for Chartreuse, but it would definitely change it. But is there something else you could use instead that would also change the profile? Like I'm thinking, what if you used an Ancho Verde? Like it would taste totally different, but I think you could still make the cocktail and taste it. I was thinking Italicus.
So this would be the one that I would go to next, I think, but not everyone has it. It's hard to get, but if you have this is amazing. I would say the one that's probably more popular that I'm not as big of a fan of, and it's to me a little stronger in flavor, not in proof, would be Saint Germain. Again, not my top choice, but if we're talking about things that people have, this would be one that you could experiment with. I think Ancho would work. It's just a very, very different, road you're taking.
Yeah, totally different, a very different road. But I think, I think the point of the Chartreuse in this cocktail is to give it a flavor. So I think you could just put in a different flavor. I actually think you could even go from like a Paula's potentially.
So yeah, but now you're going more orange though, like Paula's orange or Paula's lemon. Paula's lemon, or a third of the price, but I doubt anyone's going to own it already.
You're probably right.
But that would be, yes. I mean, you're talking what, $20 instead of $55.
Now I'm going to go totally crazy. What do you think about a white vermouth?
I like it better than ancho if you're trying to stay on this course.
Anyway, if anybody does make this with something different, let us know what, because I'm totally curious.
I will also point out, if you do invest in Chartreuse, and as you can tell, I not only invested in it, I've really partaken in this Chartreuse quite a bit, but mainly because of, there's a drink called The Last Word, which one of my favorites.
It's one that I make a lot for people who come over and say they want a refreshing gin drink.
It's probably the first drink that got me into making true cocktails. When you think of a last word, to me, yes, it's 4 equal part ingredients, but I think of Chartreuse. So
if anybody goes out and buys Chartreuse for this, let us know and we will hook you up with how to make a damn fine last word.
Maybe even in Houston, it could be in a to-go cocktail. Just saying.
It's a good drink. It is a good, good drink. Egg white.
Uh-oh.
Watch me cleverly salvage this. As we've also learned, you don't really need a full egg white because eggs are larger than they used to be because of all those weird things we do to our chickens.
So what's that little tool you just use there?
An egg separator.
Is that, oh, you actually have an egg separator in your bar. Got it.
I mean, it used to be in my kitchen, but I end up using it more in my bar than my kitchen.
Okay.
So
I thought you were just getting creative with some other tool, some other bar tool.
I was not.
Nicely done. Well, if nothing else, you just taught everybody how to
Salad fuck up.
See, personally, I've never had to use that. So I just don't know how to, I wouldn't even know what to do. All right. So we've now fixed your egg white.
An ounce of gin, only 1 ounce.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting in this one. This, typically, as you guys know, we start with, on average, 1.5 to 2 ounces of a base spirit. In Chartreuse, the green is stronger than the yellow. It's 110 proof on the Chartreuse. So maybe that's why.
Then we're going to add an ounce of the green Chartreuse, 1 full ounce, which that's actually a lot of Chartreuse also.
Sure.
The color of Chartreuse is gorgeous. Actually, I do not think I'm mistaken in saying that the name of the color came from the liquor and not the other way around.
Yes, and this has been the yellow and green. I think green is older, but the Chartreuse recipe, like many of the liqueurs, the European like liqueurs and Amari, there's all kinds of like weird backstories and like secrets about where it started. It was originally monks that came up with this recipe.
1/2 ounce of lemon. 1/2 ounce of olive oil. Yes, I said olive oil.
Which I have to say, as I pour this in, just let me look at that. I do feel like I'm making a salad dressing, by the way. You were not far off.
1/4 ounce of simple. A couple of basil leaves. Nice, and shake it again.
The big reveal.
Great.
It already looks delicious.
So your garnish here is going to be super interesting. We're going to legit make a salad here. We're going to give it a few drops of olive oil, a sprinkle of pepper, and a little bit of basil.
All right.
Just going to do a couple of dots for fun. Very pretty.
Not fun.
Sprinkle some pepper.
So the pepper is our little secret ingredient we're adding. That's not in the original recipe, but I will say it's actually one of the prettier ones we made.
And then I will just let this basil float right on top. It would also be nice there's one of those little clippies.
I will say, I don't know if you can notice on yours yet, but on mine, the foam on top, it's definitely a thicker foam. It's almost like a meringue. The chef who came up with this drink, he talked about how he liked how the oil emulsifies with the egg. And to me, if you hadn't told me that there was something else different in here, I would have said, this is different. Are you looking forward to the nice mouthfeel?
I am.
The weekend is coming. I hope you guys, those of you in Houston, are getting excited about our to-go program. I know we are. And we'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.
Cheers, Rice.
Cheers, Jason.